Welcome one and all to episode 25 of the Kakariko Road Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Petter, and with me I've got my two co-hosts, Steven.
Hello.
And Chase.
Good eye.
We have a little bit of an announcement to make that it's going to affect the channel as a whole. We have decided to... well, actually, let me start from the beginning. We realized that making new episodes of this every single week has kind of taken away time from other things that we want to be able to spend time on. And so instead of deciding to just drop the thing, we are going to be doing the Kakariko Road podcast monthly instead of weekly from here on out. This will be the last episode of the weekly release, you could say.
Yep. As well as Lords and Mercenaries, which we'll be releasing in a couple of days.
Yes.
That'll be the last weekly episode.
However, that said, we've still got a lot more new stuff planned for this channel, so keep an eye out.
Yeah.
We're cutting back to make room for better things.
Precisely.
Mm-hmm.
We have several new ideas that hopefully will be exciting to hear. And, well, I guess with that said, let's get onto the episode. And the topic today is Zelda games worthy of a sequel, at least according to us. I figured this would be a fitting topic, seeing as Breath of the Wild fairly recently had a sequel announced. And so, what other Zelda games do we think are worthy of a sequel? Chase, do you have any thoughts on that?
You have to give me a minute. I forgot this is going to be the topic today.
No worries. I haven't really prepared either.
As is per usual for me in these episodes, I don't know. In combination with, I just don't care. Like, it's hard to say which Zelda game deserves a sequel that hasn't gotten one already, because they're all standalone things. Like, they have a beginning, middle, and end. A lot of them.
Yeah, most games, of course, are very much their own separate
Like, thinking
thing.
back, I am really stretching for what few ideas I do have for this topic.
Right. Mm-hmm. And in that sense, we could find some examples, of course. It's just that it's going to be stretching it a bit, I'm sure.
So I guess I could kick it off then, because I have
Sure.
somewhat of an idea for a sequel that I think could be interesting and could have. It could mean a lot of different things, or it could be a lot of different things. So basically, how about a sequel to Zelda 2 called Zelda 3?
No.
Man.
This and see,
No.
just hear me out on this. Hear me out.
No, I'm not saying no to a sequel to Zelda 2. I'm saying no to calling it Zelda 3.
Okay, it doesn't have to be called
Pulling
Zelda 3,
Assassin's
but
Creed on you.
But it would be featuring the same Link as in the first two Zelda games. And so what I'm thinking is, obviously, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, the gameplay, art style, and general vibe of the first two Zelda games are drastically different. So if a third game would be made with this same Link character, it could be entirely a different thing as well. It could be potentially an open world 3D Zelda game with the same Link, possibly, because this Link in particular already has such different types of gameplay that it doesn't matter if the third game has yet another type of gameplay, if you know what I mean. And I think, I don't know, a lot of people back in the day were expecting a Zelda 3, which never really came out.
Right.
And I think
There was quite a bit of time between Zelda 2 and Link to the Past, wasn't there?
yeah, there were like 4 years, I think.
Yeah, that wasn't too bad, actually.
But, like, I mean, that's still quite a wait. Especially since Zelda 2 came out just 1 year after Zelda 1.
Games back then did not take that long to develop.
Yeah, for the era, that was a long time.
Right, I think so.
And think about how many Mario games we got before 1990.
Right. So I don't know, like, so basically the appeal that I see with a quote-unquote Zelda 3 is that not only would it feature the classic original Link, which is just cool in and of itself, it could also be pretty much anything, and as far as I see it. It could be a top-down, like, Link Between Worlds-esque game, or it could be like a Breath of the Wild type game, or something that we can't really imagine right now too. I mean, that's just something I think is kind of cool.
How would it link back
Hey.
to Zelda 2?
Um,
That's the main
well, I haven't
issue, I guess.
thought. I mean, that's all going to be part of the story. Like, the only links are going to be in the story because graphics, gameplay, all that is going to be different from the get-go. So it's really only the story.
I
I
guess-
guess be about.
I haven't really thought about that.
The best
I've-
idea
like, 'cause,
I could
I don't know.
think of, if you don't mind me stealing your thunder for a
Oh,
second,
go right ahead.
because this is one of the ideas I was going to suggest too.
Huh?
Is have it be like an intermediary between like having the same link as Zelda 2, but also be kind of a lead up to Breath of the Wild.
Oh,
Okay?
how do you mean there?
Like have it lead towards the like story-wise lean a lot on like malice and kind of explain a little bit of that and like getting Ganondorf up to the point where he becomes Calamity Ganon.
From this point in the conversation, are we going to just completely trash the Zelda timeline?
Well, no, but this could work.
I
So-
already trashed the Zelda timeline. What's it matter?
I was going to say, like, that just throws it out of the window.
Well,
yeah.
no, but listen, hear me out. Like, so this could still work if this takes place 10,000 years before Breath of the Wild. But it could be, building up those things even that early, I think.
Yeah, and maybe even if it's not the same, although I guess usually if a game, not always if a game's a sequel, it's the same link because the Spirit Tracks exists. But still have it be like similar maps, maybe, or like very clearly still that golden era of Hyrule.
Right. Yeah, I think, and it would be awesome to visit these, because Zelda 2 had a lot of towns.
Mm-hmm.
More than most Zelda games, really. I think maybe only trumped by Breath of the Wild, if even that. Because I don't know the exact amount of times and towns in Zelda 2, but there's a lot, and it would be awesome to to see those in 3D. I think that would be really cool. Because towns is something I've always kind of wished there was more of in Zelda, especially the 3D games.
Yeah, me too, actually.
So if they kind of recreated the Zelda 2 Hyrule and had the Zelda 3 game take place there, but in a 3D version of that, I think that would be really awesome.
Well, I've been suggesting this for a long time, so you know how down I am.
Right. Well, I'm glad you're on board. But yeah, any other or if you want to add something to this or bring up another sequel idea.
I guess the mentality that I'm going to go with, because every Zelda game has a beginning, middle, and end. I guess the mentality that I'm going to go with now is that the villain in these sequels does not, and also can't, in a lot of cases, be Ganon or Ganondorf.
That's true.
I think we can agree on that.
Yeah, we can definitely agree on that, but I don't think that is a bad thing.
Oh, of course not.
But it really depends. I mean, look at the Breath of the Wild sequel. That one will likely deal with Ganondorf. So,
Probably.
very likely.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess an exception to that. But then we had Majora, of course, in the sequel to Ocarina of Time.
Zelda
and
2 was a sequel.
Zelda 2 was a sequel.
And the Return of Ganon was there. Very there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah,
happened
basically.
constantly.
He came back every time he died.
Well, of course, that's a hallmark of the series. But do we know by sequel? Like, what's in my head is not all that much time has passed between.
I mean, there was 2 years between Zelda 1 and Zelda 2. Zelda
Really?
2 is a
Okay.
sequel. Yeah, Zelda 2 is specifically the same link as Zelda 1.
Yeah,
Okay. I wasn't sure how much time has passed.
I see. And honestly, the way I kind of think of a sequel, at least for this discussion, is to have the same link as a previous game. That's, I mean, of course, Spirit Tracks could be considered a sequel to Phantom Hourglass, even though it's technically not the same link, and that there's about 100-year difference. But, and that's not the type of sequel I'm looking for in this discussion, personally.
Right, of course. I say that's more of a spiritual successor to Phantom Hourglass.
I guess.
Like, Spirit Tracks still has characters from Phantom Hourglass.
Yeah.
Old Man Nico.
Yeah.
Yes.
that's what I said.
No, you did. I just heard you say spiritual successor, and
No, I meant he brought up Spirit Tracks, so I said that's a spiritual successor to Phantom Hourglass.
oh wait, was that meant to be a pun?
No.
Too late, it's a pun now.
Anyway.
Oh! Alright. So what are your sequel ideas, guys?
I would like to see, mainly because I'm biased, although you can't really take away bias from this discussion.
Oh, no.
I would like to see another Zelda game in the Twilight Princess world or time period. I don't know if we could use more Twilight. I don't know if there's room for that to open back up.
We need Link and Midna to come back together, and
And have some babies.
even though that's definitely completely against the entire point of the ending of Twilight Princess.
Yeah.
She's a good waifu.
I want to spend more time with post Twilight Princess Midna. Because now that she's, fully accepted her role in the Twilight, I want to know more about the Twilight themselves, because we got a few blips about the Twilight in Twilight Princess, other than, we got to explore a small area, and obviously we had Zant. But I just want to know more about that civilization.
On the topic of that, I think an interesting way to make a Twilight Princess sequel would be to not make a sequel about Link, but to straight up just make a sequel about Midna. Like a sequel
That'd be
game
cool.
that follows her life after the events of Twilight Princess,
I wouldn't mind that.
That'd be neat.
completely taking place within the Twilight realm and just showing off that whole side. I think that would be pretty cool.
Honestly, Midna is one of the best characters in the entire Zelda franchise. So
Agreed.
If we were going to give a spin-off game to anyone, she deserves it.
Yeah, totally. And I think such a game would take place completely in the Twilight realm, because that thing opening up, at least, officially, canonically, wouldn't sit right with me personally.
I would definitely like to know more, for sure.
Alternatively, a Twilight Princess sequel could be, just with Link, his next adventure after that one, because the way the game ends with, like, I think one of the last things we see in the game is Link riding away from Orden, like just riding off northward, I think, and that's it. Like, he's riding off to a new adventure, and maybe a sequel could pick up around there, possibly.
From Link's perspective, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, that would be another option, for what a Twilight Princess sequel could be.
As far as from Midna's perspective, really, Nintendo could do whatever the hecky they wanted.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because it's very ambiguous in the first game, in Twilight Princess.
Yeah.
So basically, they could do really whatever they wanted to.
Definitely, and even like gameplay wise, like it could be a completely different type of game. It doesn't need to be an adventure puzzle game like Zelda. It could be a completely different type of game, really.
Yeah.
It could be more story heavy than any Zelda game is, for example. But yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Chase? You got any ideas?
Yes, I had come up with one. And this is going to sound so cliche, but I want a sequel to Ocarina of Time.
Huh.
Which ending of Ocarina of Time?
Child ending.
Okay,
I
so
guess it's technically Majora's Mask sequel,
Yeah.
but not really going to tie
Yes.
into Majora's Mask. It's going to tie more into... Shut up, phone. It's going to tie more into Ocarina of Time.
so would it take place after Majora's Mask?
Yes, definitely. Like, long after Majora's Mask, decades later. I'm thinking, in Twilight Princess, we know that the Hero of Time became the Hero of Shade.
Yeah.
A lot of shit happened in that time.
True.
Like, I can just only imagine what was happening in that time period. I want to see what was happening in that time period. I want to see Link be a big, bulging, buff man.
So you want the hero of time to be the playable character?
Yes. And specifically, I want him to be more like the hero's shade. I want the hero's shade to be the playable character, except alive.
Right. So how old would he be? Like in his 40s or like?
Yeah,
what
I
are
was
you
thinking
imagining?
like maybe mid to late 30s.
Okay, yeah.
Actually, maybe mid 30s. Late 30s might be getting a little much. I don't know. I'm not in my 30s. Is your body done at that point?
Yeah.
People in your late 30s, comment below.
Exactly. Please do that. Oh my god.
Great.
Yeah. That could definitely be interesting to explore the hero's shade origin in a way.
In that same way, we could also kind of get some hints toward Twilight Princess. It could kind of... It wouldn't directly be a Twilight Princess prequel. I don't think it wouldn't really tie in with that. But... some hints towards what's to come would be pretty awesome.
Right. Yeah, I think that kind of thing isn't something Nintendo does a lot with Zelda, like barely at all. But it's definitely something I agree would be awesome.
Like connecting the dots?
Right. They barely ever really do that.
And it's
There's
not
been a
just
few-
with Zelda. They just don't often create stories that specifically tie in to answer questions or be plot holes to other games.
Yeah, it's really true.
It's just a shame.
Very much so.
So that's my idea.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So, if Twilight Princess gets a sequel, if Ocarina of Time gets yet another sequel, Wind Waker, of course, already has one. Breath of the Wild is getting one. Then the only 3D Zelda game that remains is Skyward Sword. Does that game deserve a sequel?
Ocarina of Time is Skyward Sword sequel.
I was gonna say no.
Well, so-
and also that.
So, okay, so here's my 5 cents on the Skyward Sword deal.
Okay.
Story-wise, it's pretty good for a Zelda game. So I think, and also graphics-wise, it's pretty good looking.
Actually, I guess we say that Zelda really hasn't had a game of that kind, but Skyward Sword pretty much is that game. It was specifically created to tell
you
the
actually
like
actually,
the birth of the rivalry between Link and Zelda and Ganondorf, the
Right.
beginning of the cycle.
it gave a lot of like backstory to a lot of things that had been unexplained prior to that.
Yeah,
You're
and
yeah,
people hated it, but not because of that.
yeah, not because of that.
Because of janky motion
Because
controls.
mostly of the
Nice.
gameplay, the controls, and I guess mostly
As
that.
far as the story is concerned, like, do we want a sequel to a prequel?
Well, we've kind of already had that with Link's Awakening.
We do, but I would believe that's a little bit indirect.
Well, so but basically, the point that I was about to be making for a or Skyward Sword sequel was that there's some good stuff to, I think, work with there from a story perspective, and it would be cool if they could like recreate a similar art style for a sequel because I do like the art style. And a sequel could take place, on the ground, because after all, they did settle on the ground at the end, and I don't want to go back up to the sky again.
Petter, you're saying that this game should have an overworld?
Yes, please. Please.
Wow.
No sky.
Wow.
That's a hot take you got there.
So, yeah, and I think, it would be cool, because it's pretty open-ended, Skyward Sword. Like, we know that Link and Zelda settle on the ground to eventually probably found the Kingdom of Hyrule. And maybe that would be a thing that we could see in the sequel to Skyward Sword. And that would be even more of that kind of backstory and like things that we would probably a lot of fans would be interested in seeing.
Yeah.
As far as because we've talked about this here and there in this discussion. As far as gameplay is concerned, would you like them to keep the motion controls?
Oh no! Of course not.
Okay.
The gameplay, the controls, like all those awful things. changed up.
Okay.
Like, you know, of course I don't want motion controls again. And of course I don't want a segmented overworld with no exploration value again.
Yeah.
But that said, I think they could, like, those are easy things to change for Nintendo, and they could, you know, spin on with the story that they started with Skyward Sword. Because the story was decent.
And then we can have Kikwis in a good game. Is that not what's really important?
That would be awesome, too.
They deserve better.
I pointed it out because a lot of, in just general statement about the gaming industry, a lot of what creating a sequel are for is expanding on the gameplay that has already been established in the first game or the previous game, right?
Right.
Granted, Nintendo clearly, you know, got the message of no motion controls or no motion control focus,
right,
in a Zelda game.
Precisely.
So, so obviously, yes, if they did make a sequel to Skyward Sword, I would hope that no, they don't keep that, because it's going to be another Zelda game that I will not be able to play ever.
Right, and it wouldn't be appreciated, and Nintendo knows that.
But at the same time, they could do this in order to, I guess, kind of retroactively make people look back on Skyward Sword better.
I mean, fair point.
Just in time for the HD remake.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I would also really like a sequel to the Breath of the Wild sequel.
I was waiting for that.
Know how that one is, buddy. Although,
you have to expect it, Steven. How is this a surprise?
Again, like I said earlier in the discussion, we can't really rule out bias.
No, right. Oh, yes. Precisely.
And nobody in this podcast is more biased than Petter
for
with
Breath of the Wild than Petter? Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
And, you know, like a Breath of the Wild trilogy, that would be awesome.
You know, another idea.
Yeah.
Give me another Minish Cap sequel in a different timeline. Minish Cap took place before the split. Did one Four Swords game or both Four Swords games take place after the split?
I know why you want that.
Yeah.
I know exactly why you want that.
I want more Vati.
Yes.
I say I don't, because
I need my main man.
I don't know a whole lot about the Game Boy games to begin with, so.
So you want to kill Vati in another timeline, basically.
Yes! Give us... You know, that's it. Make it both a Minish Cap sequel and a Wind Waker sequel.
How many times can we kill this one antagonist that is not Ganon or Ganondorf? Is that what we're going with this?
I like this. I like where you're going with that. So it would take place in New Hyrule, like where Spirit Tracks takes place?
Yes. Like either between Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks or after Spirit Tracks.
Go on.
Honestly, I'm just bringing this out the seat of my pants, but... I mean, he'd still have to exist. He'd still be sealed somewhere or other, probably down in Ancient Hyrule.
Right, yeah.
When Ancient Hyrule gets destroyed, the Four Sword gets destroyed, and he is freed.
Oh, yeah.
And Link has to siphon the bottoms of the ocean in order to find all the pieces of the Four Sword.
That would be kind of cool. Like an underwater city, maybe, or something like that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's too crazy.
Honestly, like, if you made this... Make this Breath of the Wild on the ocean. Breath of the Wild, Wind Waker.
I was gonna say...
Oh my god, Chase! What have you...
I've created the greatest Zelda game that will never exist.
Why did you encourage Petter's idea of a third Breath of the Wild game?
Because that is actually an awesome idea.
The third Breath of the Wild game takes place on the ocean!
Oh, man!
Oh my god!
Like, make good Sea of Thieves with Link. That's all that I ask.
No.
Captain Link!
Maybe not that far down the rabbit hole, but...
Yeah, but like the point of, like, an ocean exploration game that's also kind of open world.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
It doesn't have to be exactly Sea of Thieves.
So gameplay-wise, it's a more populated Wind Waker.
Yes.
Roughly,
Wind Waker
yes.
with more stuff to do.
And maybe the ship is like a big ship. You have a crew and stuff. And maybe Vati is the villain.
Yes, that's the entire point of me suggesting that it be
Right.
both a sequel to Minish Cap and Wind Waker, so we can get more body.
Oh, but it's a sequel to the Breath of the Wild sequel, too.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Let's combine all
No, it's not.
together.
That makes no sense, Better.
It could, though. It could make sense, right?
If we want it to be a sequel to Wind Waker, it's not going to be a sequel to Breath of
But
the Wild.
let it not be a sequel to Wind Waker. Let it be a sequel to Breath of the Wild instead.
But
Or
if,
to the Breath of
if
the Wild
it's not
sequel.
a sequel to Wind Waker, then why is it on the ocean?
Because Link wanted to go out to the ocean.
Link doesn't have wants or desires. Except to
How do you know
I
that?
guess.
How do you know that, buddy?
And I guess that you could have a Breath of the Wild sequel that had body in it. That wouldn't be terrible either.
Right? I mean, so the third Breath of the Wild game has Vati in it. And takes place on the ocean.
That just seems like too much in one game, I think. We just need to choose two of them and stick to it.
That's like Petter's dream.
It's my dream combined with your dream, Chase.
Petter's dream is to have all open world Breath of the Wild style Zelda games.
Yeah, so I'm saying have it be a sequel to Wind Waker. Once again, I guess with an older Toon Link. Except with kind of a more similar gameplay to Breath of the Wild. Like the halfway between Wind Waker and Breath of the Wild.
Sounds fun. Sounds fun. So actually, here's something. Speaking of an older Toon Link, let me bring this up because I don't think we've discussed this before.
Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong, but the way I understood it with Wind Waker Link, he is supposedly the same age as the Hero of Time is when on the old side of Ocarina of Time.
Well, we don't know which side of Ocarina of Time. We just know he's the same age as the hero. We know he's the same age as the Hero of Time, but the Hero of Time is two different ages.
But from the Wind Waker perspective, because that takes place on the adult timeline, the only side where the Hero of Time was actually ever known as the Hero of Time was his old
Well,
self.
yeah, but he's still
What?
Yeah.
I'm sure that's what he did in the time before, with the whole Deku Tree and Goron Caverns and all that. I'm sure that wasn't forgotten.
It's
when he
maybe
started
not,
his
but
journey.
they were very minor things, and
Not
maybe
really. He kind of fucked stuff up.
he fucked stuff up, but not to the same extent as he did as an adult. And I feel like it's just the art style of Wind Waker that makes him look younger, but he's actually the same age as the adult Hero of Time.
It is implied that he's pretty similar age to Tetra, who's a pirate captain.
Right, exactly. So I think it's really just the art style of Wind Waker that makes a lot of people or a lot of characters look younger.
Grandma is shorter than him.
There's also the voice. He sounds very young.
True, but some
At least
people
in
have
my-
high pitched voices even though they're adults.
This is true.
I guess this has nothing to do with sequels, but it was just something I wanted to hear your opinions on, because I've always kind of thought it as it's the art style that makes him look younger.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is, honestly.
It's really kind of dubious.
But wait, hold on. Didn't they imply at the very beginning of the game his birthday? Like what age he was?
They don't say an exact age. They say that he is the same age as the Hero of Time.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's what they say.
I thought they specifically implied an age.
They've
No,
never
but-
given a specific age for Link except for Zelda 2, where he was 16.
Right.
Interesting. All right.
And it also started on his birthday.
Oh, it did? I didn't know that.
Wind Waker is a sequel to A Link to the Past. Not A Link to the Past. To Zelda 2 confirmed.
All right.
Yes.
Sounds
The birthday link.
The birthday timeline. Where it's always Link's birthday.
Oh boy.
You're right.
Right. So, well, I think we've kind of squeezed this sponge dry. If that's the saying, probably isn't, but it should be.
Okay.
Unless you have anything else you want to say about games worthy of sequels.
I think we're fine.
Yeah. I don't have much to say on the matter either.
All right. Well, in that case, thank you all so much for listening. Check out the link the links in the description for little cool YouTube channels and other Twitters and stuff. And we won't see you guys next week, but we'll see you next month. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.